Yo, what's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of 4th and Dynasty here on Dynasty Pro's YouTube channel. It's Cody. It's Brian. How we doing today, buddy?
Doing great. Can you feel it? It's almost here, buddy.
I know. Scott Hansen is going to be in my living room in a matter of weekends for the next 8 hours. Oh, man, I'm so pumped. My wife's even like, oh, I'm missing Scott Hansen. I'm going to hop on Twitter a little bit. I'm like, yeah, that's right. It's almost that time.
Oh, I'm so excited for it. I can't wait. College starts this week with week 0, so let's get to it, huh?
Yeah, football's in the air, folks. It's time. It's been a long-awaited, months on months, but you've listened to us. We've gone through the content. We've gone through the rookie drafts. It is time to put it all together and figure it out. So today, that's what we're doing. We're checking out the NFC, and we're looking at, well, it's kind of our predictions episode. We're going to dive into a little bit some of our favorite players that we're looking at, who we're excited for, who we're not, and then kind of go through top to bottom, see where Vegas has these teams, and of course, we've got to give you our opinions here, because that's what you're here for. You're here to find out who's Cody got ranked the highest, who are his division winners. So without waiting any longer, let's jump into it. NFC West, the winner of the NFC, I guess, if you want to call it that. San Francisco at 11.5 wins. You surprised?
11.5 is, it's pretty high betting wise, so I'd probably take the under there, but I really don't see anyone in their division beating them out, so I do have them first. What are your thoughts?
You know what? You got to fall off the mountaintop eventually. I love chaos. I love going the contrarian route for the most part. So once we get into it, like my predictions, I don't have San Francisco number 1 in this team. Am I saying they're going to fall hard? No, I think this other team's going to snake them out, beat them out by 1. But probably the biggest question on everybody's mind, as of the date of this recording, Ayuk has not been traded. He has not re-upped. Where are you in this mindset? Are you pumped for Debo with the thought of Ayuk going out of town? Are you excited for Ayuk with him going to Pittsburgh potentially? Like, give me your thoughts on this whole headache.
My thoughts are I'm exhausted with it already. Let's just get it done. But
100%.
If he leaves San Francisco, I'm very happy for Debo, and I'm really excited to see what they do, because then he's gonna go back to running the ball about 5 to 7 times, and then he's going to be the main threat again. And I would be excited for Ayuk in the Steelers too, because he's their wide receiver 1 then. So I'd be really excited if that deal went down.
I really can't decide. I've been very high on Freiermuth and the running backs in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I love that, but the thought of Ayuk going there, I was like, it can't really hurt them too much. Freiermuth, it probably will, but I was like, if anything, it just kind of helps stretch the field and keeps them from, loading the box, if anything, against those running backs. But I'm torn. I guess I'm ready for him to leave, because I want to know that Debo and Kittle and these pieces there are going to be just that much more consistent. Give me some Ricky Pearsall. We had fun talking about that this offseason.
For sure. I think that would be another case of let's see what Brock Purdy can do, prove the doubters wrong even more when I take away one of his weapons. Do
you think at all San Francisco's kind of hoping like Brock Purdy, please don't play lights out this year, because they've got to pay him. Like they're going into this offseason, they have to pay him. If he has just a MVP caliber season like he did last year, San Francisco's screwed. They're going to have to back up the truck, and that's for Mr. Irrelevant. It still makes me a little hesitant there.
I think if they win the Super Bowl, I don't think they'll care.
No. If they get that dub, for sure.
Yeah. That's a tall order, tall ask. But
we got the Rams.
11.5, I'm betting the under, though. I don't know. Some of the other teams in the NFC are finally starting to get more competitive with them. And with all the turmoil they have had, even with Trent Williams and stuff, I think that number is just a tad high.
Yeah, this offensive line, according to PFF, they are in the bottom half as far as skilled. Like you said, Williams is still there, but the rest of the line has fallen off. The Rams are 8.5. Arizona and Seattle both at 7.5 as far as Vegas's odds. I like them. I don't think there's really one that's jumping out at me as like far taking the over the under. Arizona over, Seattle under if ones that really do jump at me. I'm excited for Seattle. DK Metcalf, I think he has a good chance of kind of bouncing back as far as the touchdown department. He's never finished below, what is it, wide receiver 24. So when we're drafting him in redraft at that floor, why wouldn't you be excited about this kid,
Yeah, and I'm actually excited for the Arizona 7.5. I think they can actually win 8-9 games possibly. It all depends on how the chemistry with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. are going to work out, and see if they can utilize both running backs in Connor and Benson. I think they can, and they have one of the best young tight ends in the game too. If they can get it all together, I think their offense can keep them in games where the defense will give up a little bit more points than most of the other defenses here, but I still think they can score enough to be in some ball games and then steal some.
I agree with you on that one. So as far as the NFC West, I have the Rams winning the division. I've got the 49ers, Arizona, and then Seattle. What's your order for this division?
I actually have San Francisco, Arizona, Los Angeles Rams, and Seattle. So, like I said, I think Arizona is going to steal some. I think they're going to steal one from the Rams early, and then by the end, they're just going to be a little bit too far ahead.
I'm excited. I've got Kyler as a top 5 quarterback this year, so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. It's funny, though. We got Seattle down at the bottom and just a shuffle there, those top 3 teams. San Francisco has one of the worst rest rates this year as far as games or weeks that they have less than a full week to prepare. It's ridiculous. I think it's almost a 16-day difference between them and the second-place team.
Wow.
So just injuries hit this team pretty hard. We don't have Ayuk. They don't have the depth. So I don't know. I think we could finally see them lose the crown this year.
That's a take.
It sure is. It's a little spicy.
I didn't know that. So that's a big stat to have. And rest days are important. We all know this.
Especially when CMC's nursing a calf injury,
That, and we played 60 quarterbacks in the league last year. So it's like, even that's not guaranteed that you're going to have the quarterback the whole time. So it's like, you need depth. You need to build a roster the right way and not just have top-heavy players. So,
speaking of building a roster right, we have to go to the NFC North because we've got a couple of teams that have just been impressing me left and right. We got to take a moment, pour one out for our buddy here, a resident Minnesota fan. It hurts. I've got a J.J. McCarthy, meniscus issue, had surgery. He's out for the season. And you're sitting there, it hurts. But you know what? Joe Burrow, his rookie year, tore his ACL, out for the season after just a few games. They had one of the best draft picks because of that the next year, and they got Jamar Chase. So is this not, maybe this is what, hell, the Colts got it last year with Richardson going down. Maybe all in all, this is going to be great for an overall franchise thing. Minnesota is now going to get a top 5 pick most likely, something to pair with McCarthy, whether it's another lineman, some sweet defensive piece, or, maybe they get on a running back, something like that. I don't know. But give me your thoughts. Where are you at on this as a fan, as a fantasy fan?
Well, as a fan, we were just waiting for it. Vikings fans, we're doom and gloom all the time, and we're always just waiting for the doom, and we finally got it. So it's you bring up the Burrow comparison, but it's still the stat of no rookie quarterback has lost their whole campaign to injury in the common draft era, and of course, who's on that list? It's Minnesota. We just can't get away from it since Teddy Bridgewater. So it's just, woe is me. I get it. Whatever. Let's move on. But they're a team still, I like what they're building. So I don't think they're that far away, especially if JJ is going to have a whole year to just watch tape and really learn the system and stuff like that. So I think they're closer than we think. And next year could be pretty decent. And what they've done with the defense, I'm really liking too. I could see them as a 6-11 team. I could see them as a 10-7 team too. I don't know what's going to happen this year, and I'm actually kind of excited about that.
God, the worst thing that they can do is go out there and over freaking impress. That head coach go out there and overplay. Them end up being a fringe playoff team, and then you all get into some crappy freaking first round pick. Like
we're always there. We're always between 10 and 20. It's inevitable.
Colts, I'm there with you, man.
It's inevitable.
I will say though, so I just saw an interesting piece of Tom Brady talking about the quarterback position and the rookies, and he talked about how the NFL is not teaching these quarterbacks anything. They're just putting them in a system, plugging them in so that they can start immediately. Versus before, a lot of these guys were getting opportunity to sit, to learn the systems, the ins and outs, instead of having to simplify the game so much. So, you know, as well as the draft capital, y'all could be growing from this. But yeah, you hit it right there. JJ McCarthy will be in every single room. Like, it's a meniscus there. He's going to be walking just fine. You know, like it's
yeah.
Unfortunately, I hate that it took him out for the season, but he's going to be there the whole time. He's going to be on the sidelines. He's going to be learning. He's going to be soaking that in, absorbing it, and he won't get the shit kicked out of him his first year. You know, like that also tends to happen. It can kick down their confidence. So
that, and then it's just like, I don't know. It's I'm optimistic about it just because of what the build is. So
with that comes Sam Darnold, the extraterrestrial searcher. Justin Jefferson, where do you have him on your rankings this year? How confident should people be? Obviously, in Dynasty, you don't want to move him because you're going to be selling him at a lower value than where it is. So Justin Jefferson's probably stuck on most teams no matter what for this season. But if you're going into it needing to play him, do you feel the confidence like A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, you'd probably have those guys ranked over Justin Jefferson?
No, I don't.
No, okay. To be honest, let's talk about.
I don't think the downgrade for it's a downgrade for Justin Jefferson. He was playing this well with Nick Mullins at quarterback, and so let's compare. Nick Mullins is QB3 right now. Let's just say right now it is. Is Sam Darnold better than Nick Mullins? Well, Nick Mullins is still on the team, and Justin Jefferson still had a 1,000-yard season in 10 games. So I believe in the system that Kevin O'Connell has, Tom Brady. So I believe Justin Jefferson's still going to be the focal point. I think actually play action is going to be better. So Sam Darnold's not going to get as much trouble because the play action is going to work with Aaron Jones. So Justin Jefferson's going to be running wide open, and I still think he's going to have a 1,400-yard season.
Yeah, those final 4 games of the season where he was playing the full game with, I guess it was Mullins for all those. He was wide receiver 1, wide receiver 6, 26, and 38. So, yeah, we had a dud in there, but that wide receiver 1 isn't out of the question, though, for any given week. It's hard for me. If I'm in a redraft, I'm okay taking guys like Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, and A.J. Brown above him. But I think right after that comes that tier of Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Devo, Devontae Adams. They have just as many question marks as him, and they are not the greatest receiver in the league as Justin Jefferson is. So temper your expectations, folks, but he is still an elite talent, and he's still going to get it done. Let's talk about the rest of this division because we got the Green Bay Packers there. There's so much talent, well-built team. They just got wide receivers out the wazoo. Comfortability level with these guys? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Forgot. Rivalry. But Watson, I can't stop taking Watson. I know we've got a little injury concerns here, but the sheer upside that you get with this guy as late as it is, I just feel like it's a steal in drafts. Jaden Reed coming off a little bit of a hampered injury this preseason, but the guy's a utility knife. He goes out there and does a little bit of everything. The touchdowns that he had last year were great. Where do you see this team finishing?
I mean, they're a top 2 team in the division for sure. I think the 9.5 that Vegas or whatever the odds are is pretty fair, but there's nothing more comforting in my soul to think, like, can Jordan Love have Daniel Jones regression? That's just, like, since we're already in the doom and gloom as Vikings fans, can we just have one thing go right for us? Let's just have the Green Bay Packers not have a quarterback for once in our life. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think so. But I can dream.
Yeah, it's a wild situation there, but if I'm looking at it honestly, and like I don't have it statted quite this way, but as far as realm of possibilities, I do. I think Jordan Love could go out there and throw 35 plus touchdowns this season. I think he could be a top 3 fantasy quarterback this year. He doesn't have the rushing upsides, but I think he can give us that high touchdown percentage that we used to see from Aaron Rodgers there in Green Bay.
So with the where you're getting Christian Watson in drafts, you're getting him when most of the time.
6th, 7th, 8th round, depending on your platform you're on.
So what, they have 4 or 5 wide receivers or something? So if there was one person, like you say, wow, they have all these weapons, I get that. Where are all the targets going to go? We don't know. That's why I would be targeting Jordan Love, because no matter what, he's going to be throwing the ball. So I think he's definitely the play in that offense.
Yeah, I liked going after these ambiguous rooms. Like, that's the nice thing. If these first 2 wide receivers were going much higher, then I wouldn't like them any more than just your average wide receiver. But it's that price that you're getting at. But the nice thing, same thing with Houston. That's actually a situation that's harder because it's more expensive pieces. But end of the day, the quarterback's the biggest beneficiary of that. Now, I don't like C.J. Stroud because of his price. I'd rather take Jordan Love, who is essentially the same ceiling as C.J. Stroud, just much later. At least in redraft and stuff like that. Selling in Dynasty, I'm sure their prices can kind of vary. Just, those Packer fans, they really screw up the pricing of some of these players.
They definitely do. What's your take on Chicago then?
You know what? Caleb Williams is exciting. I am super, super excited to have him in the league, to see what he can do for Chicago. That fan base deserves something. At the same time, despite him being an old Colts coach, I'm not a fan of Eberflus. I'm not a fan of the OC that they brought over from Seattle. I thought that he struggled to produce with the 3 talented wide receivers he had over there, so I'm not convinced that he can do it this year with these guys. I think Caleb Williams will overplay the skills of his coaches, which may keep their jobs this year, but I think the best situation for that team is for them to struggle immensely on the offensive side so that they can get rid of those coaches, so that they can hit the restart in year 2 of Caleb Williams and not put it off till, year 3, year 4, and not finally see him unleashed. But overall, I'm excited. I think we're going to see some spike games from these players. What about you?
So, as far as depth is concerned, I think this is where the difference is between Minnesota and Chicago this year. I actually like Minnesota's depth a little bit more. Obviously, we don't have the quarterback or anything like that, right? But Chicago's in the system. They're going to have all those pieces there. But on the defensive side is where it scares me a little bit. They have some nice corners, and, they don't have one unit that's their best. They have, like, a guy in each place.
Yeah.
I'm kind of worried about. So I think they need to still do a little bit more on the defensive side to be truly, truly good. But yeah, I mean, getting the experience with Caleb Williams 1 year under their belt, I'm going to see they're going to score points and they're going to be good for fantasy-wise, but for win total-wise, I think they're going to underperform a little bit because their defense is going to let them down. Where I think that's where I was like, I don't know where Minnesota's going to wind up, but we could be 8-9 because our defense is winning us some games because of what we brought in.
I agree. Because you also have Brian Flores as defensive coordinator there, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And the last team we've got in the division is Detroit. I mean, what more can be said? This is a team that outperformed last year. Came out was one of the top offenses. I think their biggest issue this year is going to be themselves. Sam Laporte is dealing with a hamstring. Jahmyr Gibbs is dealing with a hamstring. Montgomery missed time last year. Jared Goff, damn, he lucked out with his schedule. He plays like one game outside for the first 12 some weeks. He's either playing in a dome or playing in sunny skies. So I think he is going to perform well, especially at the beginning of the season. But all in all, I've got Green Bay as my number 1 team in this division. I have them just beating out Detroit. I've got them at number 2, Chicago, and then Minnesota, of course, down at 4. It's easy to put them there with JJ.
Yeah, I had to be realistic, so yeah, Minnesota's my 4. Chicago's also my 3. I have Green Bay and Detroit flip-flop, but I think it's going to be closer than we think. I don't think there's a 12-4 or even an 11-win team here. I think the division's going to be one with 10-6 or 10-7, and it could be off of a tiebreaker. I think two teams could be 10-7 and one could be 9-6 or 9-8. I really could. I really do believe that. So I think this division is going to beat up on each other.
I agree with you there. Unlike the AFC North, I don't think they're going to edge out enough wins for them to all have winning records. Moving through the East, I've got Philly, Dallas, Washington, and the Giants. As we know with the East, the number one winner always switches it up. It's got to be someone new every single year. So I see a bounce back for Philly. I see the two wide receivers there as both top 12 options this year. I think Devonta Smith is going to sneak in there with Kellen Moore coming into town as the new OC, because I think their head coach is kind of, I don't think he's the best. So I think this is going to go great. Dallas, what a hot mess. Pay your boys. That's all I got to say. For any dynasty managers holding those guys, don't worry. They will get the bag, whether it's in Dallas or somewhere else. Washington. Where are you at on Washington? Are we buying into Terry McLaurin? If you were a contender, is this a piece that you want to pick up?
I've been buying Terry McLaurin since his rookie year, okay? And I can't get off of him. He's one of my ride or dies, I guess. But I think I believe in Jaden Daniels because I just like what he's doing in the first few preseason games we've seen. It just, can he withstand that? It's kind of like if he doesn't get hurt like Anthony Richardson, if he kind of protects himself and stuff like that, I think they could be pretty decent. I mean, this division is also gettable, but I think the addition of Saquon is the biggest acquisition for Philly to win this division because Jalen Hurts doesn't have to do all the rushing work that he had to do the last few years, and he's going to be healthy, a lot more healthy than he has in the last 2 years. Now, like you said, though, I don't think Sirianni is the right coach for him either, but I think the new OC or the OC they have will work that out or whatever. So I do like Philly. I like Washington over Dallas just because Dallas is a hot mess, and I don't see it ending anytime soon. Even if they do start getting paid, what does that do? Like, that's why they don't get free agents either.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, well, you're always going to be stingy, so why wouldn't I go to somewhere else where they're going to treat me right?
Yeah, and after Dak and CD, they still have Micah Parsons on the other end, who might be more important than...
So, yeah, let's play a little hypothetical. Out of those three, if you only had to pay two, which two are you paying?
CD and Micah.
Oh, 100%. Me too. Okay, perfect.
I think. Feels
I'm
mean,
paying those two for sure.
So I've heard rumors, of course, that the Raiders are waiting on the availability of Dak, depending on whether or not they ship off Devontae Adams. Because I've heard rumors of Devontae Adams moving, and one of those teams was San Francisco that I saw being talked about. So if San Francisco ships off Ayuk and then pulls in Devontae freaking Adams, like rumor, speculation on rumor, but like when you look at it, like damn, that actually could make a little bit of sense. Like
I don't think Dallas moves off this year.
I don't think so. No,
I think he'll test free agency and then he'll let that do the talking. Jerry will let that do the talking, and then he'll up the price by probably $10 million. That's about it. And he was like, well, if you don't want it, I at least offered it to you. So then my fan base doesn't go against me. Because I think he has the money to do it, and he'll do it, but he's not going to overpay. So he's going to see whatever team is going to pay him in free agency and then pay him that.
Hell, if they're smart, they pull off that the secondary tag like Baltimore did with Lamar, because that ended up playing really well in their favor.
It did. Yep.
Giants. Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. He had 2 picks in the second week preseason game, a third or fourth that should have landed there. Malik Neighbors will finish as a top 36 wide receiver, maybe even higher, just because of the volume alone. But is it something you want to deal with? Because me personally, if I am like contending or I'm looking to make the push, I'm not looking at Neighbors as a vital piece.
No,
not this year anyway.
He's a good bye week filler for sure in redraft, but that's about all he's going to be this year, and I think that's the only relevant part in that office. I like Theo Johnson a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've talked a lot of Theo Johnson, but it's Daniel Jones the reason why I don't like it. Yeah, and same. Does it get any better with Drew Lock? I don't know.
And not to talk crap on Devin Singletary, I'm excited for his value and what he has to bring, but like that's what you got in your backfield. You know, so like there's not a piece outside of Neighbors that really gets you excited, whether it be the wide receivers, the tight ends, the quarterback, the running backs. And then when this defense, they spent a lot of money on this defense.
Yep.
I don't know if they're going to be enough of a game changer to put the offense in, good situations with like turnovers, positive, yardage. So I don't know. I'm off on this team. They're my fourth in the division. I've got them as a top 5 draft pick next year. Yeah, they got to move on.
Tiebreaker for the number 1 pick might be the week 1 Minnesota New York Giants.
Oh my God, how funny would that be?
But so the rankings that I have for the East are I have Philly, and then I have Washington, and I have Dallas and New York Giants. I think the Washington number is way too low.
And I think Dallas, I respect it. We're sitting here saying how CD's should be the top 1-2 wide receiver off the board. He's just guaranteed to see the volume like he did last year. This team could fall off. Dak could some of those plays just don't fall in. They could be doubling CD. Brandon Cooks is a year older. Ferguson, there's so many signs that this team really shouldn't do it, but we're just basing off last year, and they were able to get it done. Because like the coaching staff, nobody has ever been confident about this coaching staff. So why now? Speaking of why now, let's go to the South, because why not? Why not be excited about this team? We've got Kirk Cousins, Minnesota, off to Atlanta. I'm so pumped about this team. Darnell Mooney came in there. One of the, his catchable passes is just ridiculously low. I got him off the waiver wires this summer for a couple of my Dynasty leagues, so I'm so excited to see what we get from him. But, the real crown jewel, of course, is Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I've got Kyle Pitts as a top 5 tight end. My hot take episode that I did a few days ago was like tight end 1 overall is what we could get out of this guy. Just Kirk Cousins has supported multiple top end receivers before. Twice he did it up in Minnesota. So not that Kyle Pitts is a wide receiver, but I think he can support both of these guys with 30, 35 plus touchdown season. I'm so excited. So excited. But we got other teams there. Tampa, Carolina, New Orleans. Yeah.
Are you done glazing Kirk Cousins now?
I am.
Okay, well, how many primetime games do they have? I don't know, but they're going to lose those ones because that's what Kirk does. So, and now I can actually say that and not have to defend it. So I'm free of that burden. Trust me. It's very liberating.
Hey, if he's losing, that just means we have garbage time, and that's even better for fantasy. So give him to me.
That's even true. But the one team we're not talking about a lot that I still think is up there is Tampa Bay. You can just never, the grit that Baker Mayfield always holds, and he gets his teams to buy in. The South is always gettable. So I think it's always going to go to the grittiest team, and I think that's going to be Tampa Bay. I like their 8.5. I like all of the lines, even 9.5 for Atlanta, and then 8.5, 7.5, 5.5 for those teams. I think Carolina is going to go over theirs, and New Orleans is going to go under theirs for sure. Just because, it's weird to say, but I like Bryce Young better than Derek Carr. Yeah. I just do. There's just upside, Bryce Young isn't 30. He's 22, or 23, whatever. So it's he's got to get better than what he was.
And he may have the new quarterback whisperer with him. New head coach coming there. He, fixed Baker, he fixed Geno for the year. Tampa Bay is hard for me. I was one of the ones that got a little cute last year, and I bought into a lot of Tampa pieces, just kind of expecting a bounce back from that team, kind of a lot of the things that we did see. And I'm not completely off on them, but the biggest appeal to me last year with Tampa was the price. The price that was baked in. It was a low risk. And I kind of see Carolina as that team this year. This year, they are the ones with the lower price. I'm not expecting this to be a phenomenal team, but they invested in the offensive line. They brought in a new head coach. They've got a rookie running back coming off an ACL tear that they're excited to get rolling. Chuba Hubbard's going to be a cheap piece that's going to be heavily used in the beginning of the season and throughout the whole season. Deontay Johnson, one of the best route runners.
Rookie tight end. I think he's going to
get off Sanders. Oh, tight end Sanders. I thought you meant Miles Sanders.
Oh, God, no.
Yes. Yeah, the guy out of Texas, tight end there. I'm excited for that. Deontay Johnson, one of the best route runners in the league. He's there. Adam Thielen gave us a top 25 season last year. He was top 12 for the first half. And you're telling me he's better than Deontay Johnson is? No. No. So why can't we get all of these improvements with Deontay Johnson? Horrible, horrible steal in drafts right now. So Carolina is kind of my excitement team, just purely price.
Again, I think this is another division. It's not like going to be beat up like the North, like because of the good teams. I think they're all just kind of mediocre, so they're going to beat up and have similar records because of that. So I think they're all going to probably go 1-1 in their division, and then kind of just lose the same games that they should win, and then win the games they shouldn't lose. They should lose, except for New Orleans. I think New Orleans is going to be awful.
Awful enough to give us some secret, sneaky points out of Taysom Hill. A guy I've actually picked up in a handful of my Dynasty leagues. I've got him shamefully in some of my leagues anyway, but I think we could get some use out of the guy. We saw him give us multiple top 6 weeks last year. The consistency is the hard part, but they look like they want to use him in the run game. Yeah. Alvin Kamara has gotten more and more inefficient over the last few years. He's going to be in the passing game, but we got to run the rock, and why not give it to Taysom?
And then after Olave, it's wide open. I would argue that wide receiver 2 is A.T. Perry. So it's like, in that regard, it's like I don't want to touch any of that because I'd much rather. I'd love to see like Olave with like a Devontae Adams more than I would Olave being the wide receiver 1.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a rough go, but I think that's where we're heading.
So both of us have Carolina and New Orleans as the bottom 2 teams, and we've just got the Atlanta-Tampa Bay swapped at 1 and 2. Before we get out of here for the NFC division, who do you have as your NFC crown? Who's your favorite as of now to win the division?
It's San Francisco, but I honestly think Philadelphia is close. I don't know why. It just you just asked me, and I just changed in my head. So I think that's the 2 teams that we're going to see again. And I think Philly gets to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm gonna go mix. So if I had to put money on something, I think like the safest one would be Philly. But my gut actually, like who the team I'd go with is gonna be Green Bay.
I knew you were gonna say it.
It's gonna be Green Bay. It's just
their over under number. I would be slamming for sure. I think
it calls to me.
It does. That one does.
This defense took steps forward. Like they improved all. It's just it calls to me for some reason. Maybe it's just Christian Watson. I've got a little bit of a man.
Yeah, he's gonna just see that I'm just a doom and gloom Vikings fan like everyone. I don't care. You've had 30 years.
Hey, Colts fan, I scream at the Patriots for what Bill Belichick. This is my first football season with no Brady or Belichick. I've never had the memory of watching football without the 2 of those. So this is a special season for me. I'm uber excited. Cody, before we get out of here, tell the folks where can they find you? What you up to? Where's all your work? Where's it at?
All my work's at Dynasty Pros. I've been taking a little hiatus in the summertime, enjoying the glistening sun here in South Dakota. But yeah, I'm here at Dynasty Pros. That's about it. You can find me on X at Cody Folden. Kind of just running things here with Brian. So what are you up to?
Hey, all the fun's about to get rolling here on the Dynasty Pros YouTube page. Of course, check us out, dynastyprosfootball.com. We have all the articles that you can ever need. You can find me at @too_much_Brian on Twitter or X, and then also on the Fantasy Football Advice Network YouTube channel. All the redraft and best ball items you need, check me out over there, and we've got tons of fun stuff for you. But until next time, I think it's time to get out of here. You ready to roll? All right, folks, it's time. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.